your choice is all up to you. Too many things, don't know what to do. Speak your mind and you won't get judged. If it kicks off, you won't hold no grudges. What? Come online, come online. CSI, CSI. Come online, come online. CSI, CSI. Yeah, your choice is all up to you. Too many things, don't know what.
Welcome back to another edition of Common Society Issues. I'm Helen Dubois, and today we are going to talk about single parenting. What's the reality of life for a single parent in Ireland? The struggles can be financial and psychological, and there are many factors at play here, such as having no one to turn to, self-doubt, making decisions solo, missing the kids when they are off on visits with your other partner, stress and anxiety about money, accepting an outcome from the one you had planned, stigma and judgment by others. With more than 1 in 4 families in Ireland currently being headed by a single parent, and only 1/4 of them in paid employment, the struggle is often unbearable. Lauren was the kind of girl who did everything perfectly growing up, so she shocked everyone when she became pregnant during college. She soon realized that her status in society, in the community, even in her family, fell dramatically once she became a single mother. Lauren had to keep proving to others that she was still that determined, hardworking person she'd been before becoming a mum. She found herself apologizing constantly and tried not to draw attention to her circumstance. The journey made Lauren look at the Irish mentality and the stigma that is still there when it comes to single mothers. She doesn't think that fathers are faced with the same level of judgment and disdain. Irish mentality needs to change, but so does the way in which we support single mothers. Her daughter is now in her 20s and starting her master's in September. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today, Lauren, and we really appreciate you coming in to share your story.
No problem.
So let's talk about becoming a mother. You were in college, so how old were you when your daughter was born?
I was 22, which isn't, I suppose, by other standards, that young,
Yeah.
but still within my circle, it was far too young for me.
Yes, I mean, they call it a whoopsie.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm always of the thought that you can't plan those kinds of things really anyway, you know, like
Yeah.
life happens and things happen.
Yeah.
So how did it all unfold? Were you dating the father of your daughter?
Yeah,
or
we
what was
had
the
been
circumstance?
together for about a year, and to be honest, I was taking the pill.
Yes.
So becoming pregnant even was a huge shock to me.
Yes.
I thought I was, you know, covered. So I became pregnant, and even though I was extremely nervous because it was totally unexpected, I knew from the beginning that I was happy about it.
Yes.
And that was, there was some days where you had conflicting issues, and I had a lot of guilt about that, like, you know, the days where you were going, God, I wish I wasn't pregnant, I wish this hadn't happened to me.
Yes.
And there's a lot of guilt, particularly now, how did I ever think that way? Because once she was in my life, I couldn't imagine my life without her.
Exactly.
So, but from the get-go, I decided, for my own sanity, I'm going to be happy about this, I'm going to embrace it.
Okay, and it was never discussed that you wouldn't go through with it and that you wouldn't go through with the pregnancy?
No.
Never ever?
No.
And then your partner at the time, was he happy about the child?
He was also shocked.
What age is he, or was he then?
He's 5 years older than me.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was like 27. So
Yeah.
he was shocked and surprised, and he initially said, you know, do you want me to marry you? And I was like, no.
No thanks.
No, not for that reason.
Yes.
So we didn't get married. Yeah.
So how soon after your daughter was born did he cease to be in your lives?
So we don't live in the same country. He lives abroad. I came back to Dublin to have my daughter here, and when she was about a couple of months old, I moved abroad to be with him. And I decided, and again, I'm quite good when I make a decision, I stick to it. I decided I'm going to give this precisely 1 year. And 365 days later, I was on a plane back here.
Wow.
Yeah.
To the day?
Yes, to
Okay.
the day. But I thought about coming back almost every day that I was there. We had a very turbulent relationship. He was not what I expected. And yeah, again, no regrets. I came back 1 year later. I feel that I gave it my best shot. And like I said, there's no regrets, no guilt over that side of things.
So you didn't make a decision to be a single mother because you are or were his partner, and I think that's kind of where the lines are a bit blurred as well, because
Yes.
you were Lauren before you were mum. So you still had your life and you still had your decisions to make as well.
Yes.
Just through those actions, you became a single mother.
Exactly.
Yeah?
Exactly.
So what was his thought at the time? Did you discuss how things were going to play out from that point when you left?
To be honest, no, and that was probably our downfall. Because we had such a turbulent relationship, it was just a subject that was just too hard to approach. He was horrified that I was leaving, but in my opinion, it was like, this could not possibly be a surprise to this man. He was treating me horribly, and I was miserable. The only thing that did make me happy was spending time with my daughter, and I gave her all my love and attention, but anything after that was making me miserable. So I was shocked that he was so surprised and angry that I was leaving, because really my bar is quite low. So my thing was, just be nice to me.
Yeah.
Just be nice.
That's all you need to do.
Yeah. Just be polite
And he couldn't even
and
do
nice
that.
and civil.
Yes.
And, I'm not asking you to make dinner. I'm not asking you to clean up. I'm not asking you to bring me out and buy me things. My bar was so low. It was just be nice to me. And he couldn't even do that. So in my mind, it was, I either live like this for years and years, or I get out of here.
Yeah.
But he wasn't happy.
That was it. I mean, you had to save your sanity at the end of the
Yes.
day as well. But obviously, your daughter was then about a year and a bit old.
Yeah, a year
I'd
and a
say.
few months.
So then you're on your own. You're a single mother. So what challenges did you face at the time?
Well, I had to come back to Dublin with my tail between my legs. I had to move back into my parents' home with a baby. So I got a lot of backlash from my siblings.
Yeah.
More indirect rather than direct, which would have been a nicer way to receive it. So it was very challenging. I had to make decisions about, okay, where am I going to work? How am I going to earn money? Who is going to mind my daughter while I'm trying to earn money?
Yeah.
And while all the while making every effort not to burden my parents more than necessary.
But then how do you juggle all of that? Because I know, childcare is expensive as well, even though you had your parents, and it sounds like you did have a good support in them. How did you kind of get back on your feet to become an inkling of the Lauren that you were before, and get back into kind of life, the grindstone?
So I was lucky that I had my degree, and I was determined to put it to use. I didn't spend 4 years slogging away for nothing. So I was really lucky. My mum helped me an awful lot. She didn't overdo it in that she didn't spoil me. Like, there was no talk of me, oh, I'll mind your daughter while you go out for, a few drinks or into town with your friends, but she did mind her while I was working. And eventually I did put her into a play school or a creche and Montessori. And I was determined again not to go onto the social welfare system. I wanted to do things for myself. So I did seek help when it came to childcare. And I remember very vividly having a meeting with a community welfare officer. And he sat down and he went through my application. He said, I see you're working part-time. I could only get part-time work at the time. And I said, yes, and you want help with childminding courses and this and that and the other. And he said, really, you would need to give up work completely in order for you to receive any financial help.
That's crazy.
And I left that meeting so, I was just angry. I was like, that's it. So single mothers will get an awful lot of help. I would even, be on the housing list. I would get clothing allowance.
But you'd have no life.
But forget about your ambitions, forget about the working world, and being a stay-at-home mum, I'm not putting them down if that's what you choose and that's what suits you, and you have an income coming in to allow you to be a stay-at-home mum. But I was like, what message are we sending to single mothers out there?
Yeah, exactly.
That, you know, if you've any hopes and dreams, forget about them.
Stop
you know,
working.
Stop
everything.
working, and we will give you everything you need.
It
But
is bizarre.
don't show any ambition or desire to be a working mum, then we won't give you anything at all. So that was really, it really was
That
bewildering.
is bizarre.
Yeah.
But then all that time as well, there was no contact or no discussion, at least from your ex, to offer you money. There was no, well,
No.
I've heard you're battling, or surely he would have been aware it costs money to raise a child, and
Yeah.
that he would throw you a lifeline, or, well, not even a
Yeah.
lifeline. I mean, legally, it's a legal requirement, actually, for him to contribute. So why
That's
didn't he, and how did he get away with it?
I suppose I got fed up with the arguments. I really did. I have always tried to avoid conflict. And I just got fed up with the arguing, and I was like, on your head, be it, you know,
So
your
did
own
you,
conscience.
you asked him regularly?
Yes,
You were
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
going,
yeah.
well, this cost this, or I
Now-
need extra
Yeah.
money for this, or I
Definitely.
mean, children are expensive, and they do sports and things, and
Oh, it
you know,
adds up really quickly.
outings,
Yeah.
and never mind books and uniforms and everything else.
And clothing.
So he
They
never
borrow extra
ever,
clothes.
just off his own bat, offered any financial
Never.
support ever.
No. You know, and I made peace with that quite early on. Money has never been a driver for me. Thank goodness. Like, I can honestly say, things have kept me awake at night. Money was never one of those things, and
Yeah.
it's not because I'm well off. I don't know what it is. It's not a driver for me,
Yeah.
and I consider myself lucky in that way.
Yeah.
And I just decided early on, okay, he's never going to give money. He doesn't have it in him. We can
Yeah.
argue forever.
So keep the energy for
Yeah.
something else. Pick your battles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I did decide that that would not affect how often or if she gets to see her father and the extended family, because she also has cousins and aunts and
Sure.
uncles and grandparents. So, you know, at the time, even on my own expense, because she couldn't travel alone, I would travel over with her
So she could see him.
so she could see
Yeah,
him and the
the
extended
family.
family. Yeah. And that was more for my conscience, and I did it for her.
Yes.
I didn't do it for him.
Yeah.
I absolutely definitely did it for her, and it's paying dividends now. You know, she's very close to her cousins and very close to her dad. They're constantly in touch with each other. They see each other as often as they can. And I'm glad now that I didn't let money get in the way
Get
of
in the
that.
way of relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very, I mean, it's amazing that you did that, because to your own detriment in a way, you know. But like you said,
Yeah.
you picked your battles and you didn't let it bother you, and money's not everything. At the end of the
I
day,
think
you're
I
a
got
survivor.
that from my dad. My dad's amazing. He would even always say, do you need some money? He would
It's all
often
right.
ask, do you want money for the flights? Because he really believed in her. Getting to know her father, and
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
Sorry,
you know,
Bennett.
it's totally all right. I totally understand the story, and you selflessly did that for her. And I mean, you are a super mum. You are incredible that you
I don't
did
know
that.
about that.
You are. You're a super mum. I really believe that you
but
are.
it was, I do thank my parents for not encouraging me to fight with him.
Yes. Yes.
I really appreciate my parents
yeah.
saying, you know, look, this is the way it is. He's not
He's
it's
not gonna
in him.
change.
It's not in him.
Yes.
But allow Sarah to know her
Sure.
family, to know her dad. And I really appreciate that from my father, because if I had somebody jeering me on, you know,
Sure.
behind me going, get the money you deserve and you
Yes.
need this.
And that creates an anger within
Yeah.
you, which you clearly don't have. You're not an angry person. You're a survivor, and that's
So
very different. You can have power without being angry, I think,
Yeah.
you know?
that's not to say that I believe that men shouldn't contribute. I do. But if it's consuming you, that's not healthy.
It's not.
No.
And you know what I really love, Lauren, is that you said it's paying dividends. It will continue to, because as your daughter grows up even more and becomes a mother herself and realizes the sacrifices, and that you were so grown up about things, you know, in the situation, and that you just did ultimately what was best for her at every step along the way. It's the most beautiful story ever. And I think that she as she does grow into, you know, well, she's an adult already, but
Yeah.
she'll go, wow, that is incredible. And it's an amazing story to be so selfless, to be able to do that. Through the stigma, I want to talk about the stigma a little bit, because
that was
I know
tough.
you mentioned about your siblings, and I'm sure there's always, when a relationship is broken down, there's the he said, she said. So there'll be people thinking you're the bad one when you're really not. You're really the good one. Tell me about the stigma on both sides of the family.
I think that was harder than the financial challenges, definitely. Yeah, I just felt the disdain, and I was left out a little bit. I was isolated a little bit. You know, I think back and I just think, gosh, wasn't invited. Do you want to pop over for a coffee? Do you want to meet in town for a bit of lunch? Or, you know, there was, although they were aware that my social activities were zero, because, as I said before, my mum kind of made it quite clear, I'll help you if you're at work, but after that, you know, and she's right. She didn't have a baby, I did.
Yes.
So, you know, even though my siblings were aware of my situation and that maybe things were tough for me, I didn't feel that support, emotional support from them.
Did you feel like an outcast, basically?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And it was like I was almost apologetic. Now, and look, they were also looking out for my parents, and I get that they had this burden that they didn't bring upon themselves in the house, and, you know.
Maybe a bit of jealousy too, you know, you get to spend all that beautiful time with your
Maybe.
parents. Maybe they were jealous. Your parents sound amazing.
Yeah. They are amazing. And I, you know, at home my way of kind of almost apologising was I was constantly making sure the house was nice and clean and giving my mum a hand, as I should do.
Yeah.
But I felt it wasn't just, yeah, this is something you should do, this is like something I have to do. By way of apology, almost, just to keep, because it wasn't like I could hand her up, you know, hundreds of euro a week or anything like that. I had to show my appreciation in other ways. And I don't think my brothers and sisters always saw that.
Yeah.
My efforts to kind of almost...
You weren't sponging. You weren't sponging off them by any means. Sure. Yeah.
But definitely I felt I became overnight a second-class citizen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, you know, that you are still the same person, really, although you are changed, because I think every woman changes when they have children. But you're still Lauren, and you're still a powerful...
I think I lost a lot of the fun side of me, though, because it was suppressed. It was like, no, you just kind of stay where
you were like in survival mode, really, at the end of the day, I think. So as far as the stigma went, and the way that it made you feel, do you think things have changed? You know, I kind of feel like the world is changing, and ideas are changing, and thoughts are changing. I'd like to think that there isn't a stigma about single mums, but not being one myself, I don't know. What do you think?
I think there definitely still is.
Really?
Yeah. Absolutely. In the workplace in particular, I found that people, once they realised I was a single mother, again, slight change, and they almost demanded an explanation, and, you know, why are you single? And
that's so bizarre.
I remember at one stage, one of my bosses was saying, oh, I hear you have a daughter, and I was like, yeah, and she goes, do you not wear your wedding ring to work? And I was like, really?
Oh my goodness.
Do you think that's actual plausible? So really, what she was saying was, I understand you're a single mother, and you get the tilt
Let me point
of the
that
head.
out to you.
Yeah, and it's like, oh dear, and yeah, I think it's definitely used against you in subtle but detrimental ways in the workplace. You know. Yeah, definitely. Like, it's hard to explain. Is you kind of have to almost experience it to know, but it's there.
Do you think that it affects women's opportunities as well? Because if you are a single mother and you tell they're not really allowed to or supposed to do this, you know, because it's discrimination, but if they knew that it was just you and they kind of knew the circumstance maybe a little bit, they would worry that, you know, as soon as there's something wrong with the child, you're not going to be there and there's nobody else, you know?
Definitely. Oh, definitely. I think, you know, putting out there that you're a single mum, I think you'd find it tough to climb the professional ladder. You know, if you're going up against somebody else for a job or a position, I think 100% it would work against you. But I think the stigma is also, they assume that you've been handed anything you own or anything you have.
So they think you're in the system anyway.
Yeah, regardless.
And they don't, yeah.
Now I'm not, again, I have to be so careful because I don't put down people who are in the system and who need the system. But I remember when I bought my home, a good friend of mine, we don't talk anymore because behind my back he was saying to people, you know, she's lying, she didn't get a mortgage. She was given the house, you know, she was given the keys from the local authority, and that got back to me. And I was like, short of showing my mortgage agreement.
Yes. Did he not ask you though?
No.
I mean, surely, like you're a friend.
Oh, he knew.
Said,
we would have chatted about, oh, I got my mortgage approval,
yes.
and I'm
And
shopping.
he thought you were lying?
Yeah. He just assumed that I was handed, because I was in the single mum category, that I was just handed anything that I had. And that really, that was really upsetting.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't have to prove anything to anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
And then again, it's not to put down, what difference would it make?
Exactly.
Why would I lie about it? If I had gotten the keys of a house from my local authority, I would have celebrated
Well,
that
exactly.
as well.
A house is a house.
Yeah.
But I mean, the judgment is appalling, because there are women out there who are single mums because they were in abusive relationships, and they're actually protecting their own lives and their children's lives. And if they're being judged, that's not cool. But, you know, I suppose it's also in the reverse. We must mention that the other way around, you know, obviously there are single fathers who are doing an amazing job and bringing up their children as well and managing. Although I did mention, you know, in the beginning about the challenges maybe being slightly different, but that just comes from the way society is and the way that the roles are thought of, you know.
And it is true. I mean, the majority, you cannot deny, the majority of single parents are women.
Yeah.
And that's why I can only speak from the point of view of a woman. And I mean, we're not, as if we're just all one group and all the same. But I do think some single women who are single mothers rather do bring some of the stigma upon us all by their behaviour.
Yeah.
You know, I do, and I've had first-hand experience of people I know who, you know, fathers who've been denied access to their children, they're not allowed to see them, and they're almost used as weapons after a breakup of a relationship.
Yes, sadly that is true, yeah.
And that also adds then to our stigma, because we're almost villainised.
Yes.
Because, you know, they think, are we using our kids as weapons? Are we using our kids as a cash cow to get financial benefits?
Yeah.
And then, when the majority of us are just trying our best to be genuine, good people and good mothers, but
And teach the children good
and
morals.
bring them up, bring them up correctly, and But there are a cohort that unfortunately do, in certain circumstances, use their children as, you know, as weapons when they're fighting an ex over custody and money, and I'm really glad I didn't get into that.
Yeah. And then your daughter, I mean, were you, I don't want to say transparent with her because that's just so businesslike, but was she aware of mostly what was going on? Did she understand the dynamic and the fact that you were really just working, surviving and doing everything you could do?
Yeah, like, she's a great girl. She's really independent. I'm so proud of her. And a lot of that is the upbringing.
She got it from her mama.
Yeah, she, you know, she isn't very materialistic. And that was very important to me.
Yeah.
You can get so caught up. You know, she likes to, you know, order things on ASOS like the rest of us, but she's not a materialistic person. She's very helpful, very kind. I'm very biased, but I do believe she is.
It's okay.
You know, but in terms of was she aware, I made sure, and this was another decision, and I didn't bash her dad in front of her.
Okay.
I didn't, you know, call him names and give out about him in front of her.
And she didn't need to know everything.
No. And she, you know what? She worked it out for herself eventually. She
Sure.
realised, you know, going back and forth to see him and things like that. And she goes, oh, he doesn't give you any money, does he? And I was like, no,
It's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I paid for her college fees and everything. And, you know, she's grateful for that. But at the same time, she doesn't hate him for not doing it, and I wouldn't
Yes.
want her to.
Yeah.
But she did work it out. They do get there themselves eventually, and
Yeah.
they see the real picture.
Sure.
But there were times it was very difficult. I remember a few years ago, she was with him for New Year's, and he gave her the latest iPhone for Christmas. And, you know, she was all excited, and she rang me and told me, and yeah, I had a little, that was stung a little bit,
Yes.
because I was like,
You can't do that.
I didn't have to pay your college fees. I could have
Yes.
got you 4 of those,
Yes,
5 of those
exactly.
phones.
Yeah.
So that stung a little bit, but still, I had to keep it to myself. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Look at you. You have a better phone than your mum, you know. But
Yeah.
so you have moments like that where you really have to bite your tongue.
Yeah. And do you think he has a little bit of guilt, maybe?
He doesn't seem to.
No.
And another thing that, you know, can happen is you can sometimes get into the wrong frame of mind where you're almost keeping an eye on what the other person has or doesn't have,
Yes.
particularly when they're not giving you any financial support. And I know a few years back he bought a brand new car, and it was a
Like a
an
Lamborghini or something?
No,
Oh.
no, it was a
Yeah.
Golf. And again, I was like, I've never had a brand new car. All my cars have been secondhand. I'm lucky I have a car at all. But
Yes.
I was like, that got to me a little bit. But
And then you were like, no.
you have to let go.
Yes.
Like, I'm not perfect or anything, but you have to try and let go for yourself. You get to that point where it's like, okay, what's healthiest for me?
Yes.
To resent and get more and more angry, or try and let it go.
Exactly.
And I have my moments. One thing I do constantly is I write a letter in my head to him. I don't
That's
know
good.
if other women out there do that. And like one day I'm going to put pen to paper, but I write this letter in my head to him. And I find that very therapeutic. And then I let go of it. So maybe one day I'll write it, but I think
Write
it
a
would,
proper letter.
yeah, but I think it would hurt him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you know,
if I
he
should.
probably realizes all of it.
Yeah.
All of it all, I would say.
Yeah.
But now your daughter's successful and she's going to college, and you've done it. What advice do you have for single parents, not even just single mothers? What advice could you give them?
Okay, so first of all, I would say do everything you can not to get into the welfare trap. By all means, get all the help you can to ensure that you have everything you need and all the resources for your children. But don't give up on what you wanted to do in your life before you became a mother. So if you thought you might want to be an entrepreneur, you might want to be a nurse or a primary school teacher or hairdresser, whatever it is, I would say try and make that a reality. Don't become short-term. Yes, their first few years are really tough. They're not in school, they don't have that routine. So perhaps then, it might be difficult to reach those goals. But make a long-term plan. Where do you want to be when your child is 10 or 12 or 15? Don't wait till they're 18 to try and get onto that.
To get back.
Yeah, don't lose your ambition. And I think that's a problem with the social welfare system. Like I said, if you give up work, we'll give you whatever you need, more or less. But I don't think, they're setting this bar really low for women sometimes. I think they forget that they have dreams and they have a personality and they have skills.
Yeah.
And, I think ideally, so that would be my advice.
Yeah.
Follow your ambition.
Keep your dreams alive.
Even if it's long term, even if you can't do it for the first 5 or 6 years,
Yes.
make a plan
then
to
use
get
the
there.
resources off it and then get back to it.
And because you constantly hear of all these advertised courses, free courses if you're doing this, and
can
and
upskill,
free
yeah.
upskilling and online courses and everything,
Yeah.
So try and become independent, have a plan to become independent financially at some stage in your life. The other thing I would say is do your best not to make parenting a battlefield with your ex, if there's an ex in the picture. I think that, in my opinion, it could not be healthy for the kids. By all means, seek financial help, but, the likes of, a parent calling to the door to collect kids and being turned away, that's...
No, that's awful. That's awful. And if the person is in a position to contribute, they must contribute.
Yes.
And, you know, they can get the advice that they need out there to initiate that.
Yeah.
But I actually want to talk a little bit about the support. The One Parent Family Payment, or OFP, is a payment available to men and women who are bringing children up without the support of a partner. Now, to get this payment, you must meet certain conditions, and you must satisfy a means test as well. To qualify for the weekly One Parent Family Payment, you must be the parent, step-parent, adoptive parent, or legal guardian of the relevant child or children, be under the age of 66, be the main carer of at least one child below 7 years of age. The child must live with you. OFP is not payable if the parents have joint equal custody of a child or children, and that's an interesting point, or have gross earnings from insurable employment or self-employment of €425 or less per week. They also have to satisfy a means testing, be habitually resident in Ireland, not be living with a spouse, civil partner, or cohabiting. Now, if you're separated or divorced, you must have been living apart for at least 3 months. This doesn't actually apply to cohabitants. You also have to have made efforts to get maintenance from your spouse or civil partner if your civil partner is the parent of the child or children. Also, be inadequately maintained by your spouse or civil partner if they are the parents of said children. Now, if you are not married to the parent of the child, you do not need to seek maintenance from the other parent when you first claim OFP, but you have to make efforts to seek maintenance from that parent to continue to be eligible. It's quite confusing, actually, but the information is out there, and like we said, each situation is different for each different person. And I love what you said about I mean, those first years are very challenging.
Yes.
I think even if you're in a partnership, they're challenging. I cannot imagine that those first years bringing up a child as a single parent. So I salute you just for those first years.
Thanks.
And now your child has got to the age of 20 and you've done it. And you have a well-rounded, beautiful daughter who is doing her master's, right?
Yeah, thank God.
So you've done an incredible job there, Lauren, and I really think that just telling your story will help so many people, even if it just makes them see that they're not alone, or just get some clarity on which way to turn, because there are many different ways you can turn and different routes you can take, and there is support out there.
Yeah.
And it's important to recognize the support that you get at home as well, which you did.
Yes, I was very lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us on Common Society Issues.
Thanks for the chat.
Now, if you want to find resources that you might need, any of those, you can get information on citizensinformation.ie or contact the helpline on onefamily.ie. Or if you need to speak to someone to get mental support and understanding you may need at any time, there are many single parent support groups available too, such as solo.ie. For Common Society Issues, I'm Helen Dubois. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, I'm Helen.
Hey, I'm Candy.
Hi, I'm Michael.
Hi, I'm Ivy.
And this is Lucia. Thank you for watching CSI.
Make sure to subscribe to CSI Common Society Issues.
And remember to hit that notification bell.
Thank you.